Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer. Welcome to Wasteland Talks, my weekly talk show where I talk about whatever the hell I want. And this week we're doing a classic review, and Adam is here joining me to talk about The Truman Show. Adam, thank you so much for coming on for this classic review.
Yeah, not a worry. My pleasure, especially to talk about Truman.
Yep. And we all love Truman. And God, I can only imagine if this was a real thing. Oh, this movie is so prophetic because this would 100% be right. But before we
Oh
jump
yeah.
into the film, I always like to give my guests a chance to shamelessly plug. As always, you know the drill. So go away.
Yeah. The letterbox is the best place to catch me. Sorry, I got tongue tied there. It's pretty much the best place to catch me. Yeah, just write reviews on every film I watch. I have a target of hitting 500 films this year, and only 30 films off it at the moment, which is great. I might have a relax and play some PlayStation after that.
Nice.
But yeah, Letterbox. Sorry, Curb Rider on Letterbox. I just think I lost complete train of thought. It's been a long day. Yeah,
It's
look,
all
look me
good.
up. I'll give you something good.
You're going to be Thanos looking upon a grateful universe and just sit back, relax, play some PlayStation
Yeah,
until those damn
yeah.
Avengers show up and chop off your hand and then your head.
uh,
You were just a farmer. They just
I
come
was just
in and
yeah.
attack you.
I was just trying to help.
Just trying to do the right thing, try to save the existence. Damn
Yes.
Avengers. But anyway, we're here to talk about The Truman Show. And this is from director Peter Weir, who I'm a pretty big fan of, honestly. And I've seen Gallipoli, I've seen Witness, Dead Poets Society, Master and Commander. I do have to see The Way Back. I haven't seen that one. Um, but and I also haven't seen Mosquito Coast, but I did watch that Apple TV Plus
Mm,
show.
no good.
Wasn't super impressed. But Peter Weir is one of those kinds of directors that I wish he didn't disappear. Because
Yeah.
he has made some great films. And
Yeah.
this is from writer Andrew Niccol, who
Hmm.
has done Gattaca, In Time, The Host. So this he seems to have an interesting kind of look at like dystopia and
Yep.
different kinds of like future realities, because like I guess you could describe this as a dystopia. All of humanity is just glued to a TV watching somebody who has no idea he's been imprisoned his whole entire life, just playing out his quote unquote life. Isn't his is his life not real? But Truman is. So Truman is real. And this is an insurance salesman discovers his whole life is actually a reality TV show. And I know I saw the Truman Show probably back when this first came out on like VHS. And I
Yeah.
watched this a lot as a kid,
Yeah.
which is
Hmm.
odd. It's like, you know, I loved this as a kid, and now watching as an adult, I love this as an
Yeah.
adult.
Yeah.
And but Adam, why did you want to come on and talk about the Truman Show for your first trip onto classic reviews?
Um, because much like you, I love this movie, and we got talking about it once, and you said, "Let's record that," and I was like, "Absolutely! Any excuse
There
to
we
watch
go.
Truman Show again." Truman Show is currently sitting at number four in my all-time favorite lists. It's my fourth favorite movie ever. I've seen it a lot, like you, a lot of times, and every time I seem to get something new out of it. I never tire of it. It's just one of those movies that it's just a delight to watch every time.
Absolutely. And this is I feel like this is such a significant film because just thinking from like context of who's in this film, this was one
Hmm.
of the first forays that Jim Carrey had outside of just like straight up doing
Comedy.
comedy.
Yeah,
And because,
yeah.
94 was a year with
Mm,
Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, Dumb and Dumber, and The Mask all coming out in the same year.
that is nuts. That is
Ridiculous.
nuts.
And then he had When Nature Calls come out, The Cable Guy, which was a little bit of a harder edge comedy.
Very dark comedy.
Steven, Steven. Um,
Evil guy.
and then you have this, and this came out in 1998,
90, 98, yeah.
and Jim Carrey gives such an earnest performance here, and because
Yeah.
like Truman's life is not modern. Like this takes place in like a modern setting outside of the Truman Show. And
Hmm. Hmm.
inside it's this idyllic like 1950s kind of like Americana. And when
Yeah.
life
Yeah.
was better, life was simpler back then. And he lives in this little beach bay town, and he's living his life. He has his sweaters over his tied up, buttoned up collar shirts, and he has his perfect wife who makes weird gestures to some camera somewhere doing ads for things. It's hilarious. I just love that part
It's yeah. Who are you
of the
talking to?
who are you talking to? Um, and Jim Carrey just rise to the occasion here. And there's so many great scenes
Mm,
here with really strong performance from him. And just the way it's like, good morning. And if I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And
that's actually my tagline on my letterbox profile.
there you go. And one of those times he says this has a whole other kind of,
Oh,
and it just
tears,
bam
man,
hits you.
tears. Never fails to make me just tear up. That's yeah, chills. Even now, chills.
It's just this was such a refreshing, different kind of Jim Carrey because like he does have his like fun moments, but like I
Yeah.
feel like his manic, like him and his wife trying to drive out of town. He's just like, oh, we're
Mm,
just going around here. It's like, look at all this traffic. It's like
yeah.
everybody going to the same place all at once. And just
Mm,
like that Jim Carrey coming in and like that fast talking kind of like, what's
yeah.
going on here is so
It just keeps
great.
going around.
Yeah. Just going around, going around. And he's so much fun in this, but this cast is great. Like
Yeah. Yeah, it
Ed
is.
Harris got nominated for an Oscar for playing Kristoff.
Mm,
He's
yeah.
amazing in
But Jim
this
Carrey
film.
misses out. Academy.
Boo them.
Sorry, he is phenomenal, but Jim Carrey, come on. Anyway,
Because like
I
Jim
think
Carrey
yeah,
definitely should have been nominated for Best Actor for this film. Like hands down, no
absolutely.
doubt about it. And
Yeah.
I just love like Ed Harris has a very specific kind of way about him. There's a I and Harry Shearer, who's the
Yeah.
interviewer. I just love
Yeah.
that. Just that like
Yeah.
little thing. And like he's so like doing an interview. And Ed Harris had Christoph has no shits to be given
Yep.
about like all these surface level kind of things from him. And you could just tell by the way he's interacting with him. And Christoph is doing this purely from like he's that creator who's
He's God and he has the God complex.
mhm,
That's exactly what he is doing, I think. Yeah.
yeah. And it's such a believable performance because Ed Harris is such a strong, powerful presence in film. And
Mm,
this isn't the only time that he'd play a godlike character like this with like Snowpiercer, where he pops up at the
yeah.
very end of the film as Wolverine and just like nails it. And because
Yeah.
he can show that there's moments in just some of his dialogue in moments where he could just be like dismissive of stuff that he feels like is below him. But
Hmm.
there are very few scenes in film that hit such a chord with me than him talking down as God to Truman at the end
Yeah.
of this film.
Yeah.
And more or less, Truman just giving him the big F you.
Yeah. I'm taking control of my own destiny. That's the whole point of it. It is really thematically dense. This film, like there's so much going on that you and each watch you'll pick up on a new theme and be able to run with it. I think it's yeah. I don't know what point we were up to be honest. So yeah, I'm happy to maybe chime in a bit later.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's just like thinking about like this cast here too, and like
Hmm.
I love Noah Emmerich, who I became a huge fan of his watching The Americans because like he was in
Okay.
that show for the whole entire run of it and was such a big character. And I love him as the best friend in this. And one of the
Hmm.
best acted scenes in the whole film is like him and Truman just back and forth and him trying to like ease Truman back into his reality. And that scene was
Is
so
that when they're on
powerful.
the end of the bridge and
Yep.
he's getting the lines fed in his ear? Yeah, yeah, that is very good. Very, very good. Mm.
Well, and Emmerich's so earnest as this character, being so not earnest and so fake because, like,
Yeah, yeah.
it's all an act, obviously, because they're all actors. I don't think Laura Linney gets enough credit for this movie because she
Me
is on
either.
the verge of losing it at any second.
Yep. And when she does, she does. It's like I can't work like this. I can't work under these conditions. And then just when he starts to twig to what's going on in his life, like oh, that whole sequence of the film where he's starting to twig that this something's not right. Um, and then yeah, way Laura Linney reacts to that, how she is his perfect wife, and yeah, then she's starting to get scared of him for real. Like it's so fantastic.
And her trying to hold it together, trying to do these ads to the camera, and just like I just
Yeah, yeah,
that last one where that whole scene, that last one where she's really trying, and you can tell that she's about to break, and Truman just snaps at that point. He's like, "Who are you talking to?" And that's where that reality just like shatters in that moment. And
Hmm.
even like Natasha McElhone,
McElhone.
um,
Yeah,
who she had a very specific time period where she was like in quite a few
she was
things.
everywhere.
Yeah,
She
because
was. Yeah,
she was
yeah,
in this. She was in Ronin. I think they came out the same
yes,
year, 98. With like
probably.
Robert De Niro and Jean Reno and Sean Bean and Jonathan Price. And like
Hmm.
she was in that as well. Actually, she just was in a film called Carmen that I got to watch a screener for a couple weeks ago. It made me
Okay.
really happy because she's a really talented actress. And
Yeah, I like her.
like I love that sequence of like them falling in love. I
The
can't
high school
remember.
flashback.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the whole weird thing is like we're moving to. Oh, why am I blanking? Where the hell is he trying to go to throughout the
Uh, Fiji, isn't it?
Fiji? And he's like,
Tahiti?
we're moving to Fiji as they're like driving off the beach. And like I love like the point where she calls in on Kristoff, and Kristoff's like, I recognize that voice.
Yes.
And like that
Yeah.
whole exchange
Yeah.
has so much to work with in terms of like the
Great
themes of
commentary.
this.
Hmm.
And it's one of those kinds of things where it's just like, obviously, we know Truman's in this place, and it makes so like I'm not shocked, but it makes me so sad that so many people are complacent to
Yeah.
his situation because it's
Yeah.
millions of people watching this at all
Yeah.
times. And
Yep.
like this kid was taken as a baby
He
and
was sold. Like, yeah.
adopted by a corporation. I'm just like,
Yeah.
well, there
Yeah.
we go.
Are
This
there laws against that though now? Like, I mean, there's nothing to say that this can't actually happen, is there? Like, and the world would follow along. Like that's the thing about this film is that if this happened, this it plays out exactly how it would happen. Like
Yep.
people would watch it 24 hours a day. They would watch him sleep. They would watch him. It would just be phenomenal. This movie just hits the point and is so accurate. It's just yeah, it plays it very well, very very well.
It's so uncomfortably accurate to the point where you're just like,
Yeah, yeah.
so
Yep.
uncomfortable about it.
Yeah.
But
And look, this is the biggest gaslighting exercise ever undertaken, in the history of mankind. Like
mhm,
Truman, it's just everyone is making him feel so he doesn't want to travel. They're actually gaslighting, making him scared to cross the
yeah,
water because his dad drowned. Just all of that is just it's heartbreaking. And that's why when the ending comes, like you're so much on his side. Like it's yeah. Anyhow, yeah.
I think, and I love like small thing. I'm a big fan of Brooklyn Nine-Nine after I watched like the
Hmm.
whole entire thing during COVID. And Scully from Brooklyn
Oh
Nine-Nine
yes,
is one of the security guards who's watching this.
yes.
And he has the most important line in the whole entire film. And that's at the very end where it's just like, oh, well, what else
What
is
else
on?
is there? Mm.
That hits so
It,
hard
it
because,
hurts. Like
yep,
it actually hurts. Like because it is so true.
so
Like Truman Truman escapes from this world. It's the most uplifting moment. Tears, chills, and then he goes, "Oh, what else is on?" And that's precisely what someone would do. Like,
on to the next thing.
yep.
And that's the thing. It's such a great commentary on our lack of connection with humanity and the
Hmm.
fact that it's like this person just escaped the biggest tyranny ever perpetrated on an individual of
Yeah.
you were stolen as a baby and gaslit your whole entire life and finally gets freedom and just the
Yeah.
Weir's direction and the music.
The music is so great.
Burkhard von Dolwitz. I think that was the first time I've ever
Okay.
looked at the composer of this. His music that just soars at the end of this film, and then
It's yeah.
the it's so poignant of just oh, what else is on? That's because that's what we do. We're on to the next
Yeah.
content, and
Absolutely.
as somebody who consumes a ridiculous amount of content, I'm just like, yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. That's what
I'm
people
on to the
do. It's
next
like
thing.
news. There'll be. I'll sort of bring up some American news, but probably you have probably a largely American audience, but you guys will have a school shooting, and that's national news. A week later, no one's talking. No, it's completely forgotten. Like
Well,
because
unfortunately,
there's
because
another
there's
school
going to be
shooting.
another one
Exactly,
probably in a
exactly,
couple
and
weeks.
that's yep, and that's that's the way we work. That's the way the news media cycle runs. It's news media is a business, and it needs to keep selling something, selling clicks, selling views. So we go on to the next story. The last one's forgotten. Those people are dealing with their tragedy and trauma. Why do we care anymore? Like that's
Yeah.
such a horrible thing.
Well, and that's the thing. It all fades away. And this is why Anchorman, The Legend Continues, is one of the most biting commentaries on media ever put on film
Yeah,
because that movie
yeah,
has no right to be that smart.
yeah.
And I think that's where you start realizing Adam McKay actually has something to say, honestly,
Absolutely, he does.
about
Yeah.
stuff. And then it's no coincidence that his next film was The Big Short after that. But
Yep.
this is and like I feel like streaming culture, binge watching culture, you can't just let something sit with you over time. You're just like, boom, 10 episodes done. Oh my God, that was crazy. I feel so
Yeah.
bad. Well, what's next? Start the next
Yeah.
binge watch. And
That's it.
with like week to week television, that's why I still love that, is because like I could be sitting on
Mm.
something and thinking about it. And I'm like, perfect example. I'm watching both Rings of Power and House of the Dragon. They're both going on right now. And
How do you not
something
confuse the two?
some Something erupted at the end of one of the last episodes of Rings of Power, and I'm just like, what? And then it's just like having to wait to the next week. Or House of the Dragon gets me that every week. Something crazy happens every episode, and then you're just like, what the hell is going to happen next week? And you're connected.
Yeah.
Like, I remember one of the most emotional evenings I've ever had watching television was the series finales of both The Good Place and BoJack Horseman came out on the same damn day.
Ah, okay.
Well, so it was the Thursday night that The Good Place ended. The next day, the last season of BoJack came out, and
Right.
oh,
I haven't
watching
finished BoJack.
watching those two finales back to back hurt. Like I was
Yeah.
like hit me so emotionally. And but the thing is, it's like you're on to the next thing. And because the thing is,
That's
like,
right.
without streaming and stuff like that, you watch television shows when they were on, and something hits you, and you don't have a new show to start until next season.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, other things fill in and stuff like that, but like, it really sits with you. And like, this reality thing with this, and I'm gonna sound like such a not Gen Z person, but like TikTok. It's just like I have students who I work at a college. Students tell me like I can't sit through a movie; it's too long, and they watch TikTok videos, and everything is bite sized and
Yeah.
short
That's
form
what
content.
Quibi will come back with a vengeance. I still think that's a great concept, Quibi, because of attention spans. The internet has ruined our attention spans as a species,
Yeah,
I think. And yeah, I think even for me, like as a film person, like if I look for a film to watch, I love clicking. I'll search through my list and go, how long does it go for? One of the first things I look at is the runtime. And so I've got a lot of movies out there that I haven't watched because I can't be bothered sitting there for over 3 hours because I know just with the way my life works, it's really hard for me to sit down at 3 hours at a time to watch a movie because I always have to interrupt stuff. So hence why Spartacus has been on my list for 7,000 years because I've never, there's so many
Spartacus.
films like that.
Quibi
Just,
got killed by the pandemic, 100%.
yeah,
If people were out and about and Quibi came out, I feel like that would have been a different story because the whole entire point of
yeah,
Quibi
okay.
was on the run, quick watch,
Yeah,
10 minutes at most. But yeah,
watch it on the train or plane.
yeah, everybody was home, so they were just watching
Mm,
everything else, and Quibi's like
yeah,
shit. Uh,
yeah,
and but
good
you're
point.
right, something like that's going to come back, and
Yeah.
basically it's TikTok. People put out content of like stuff like that, and they put out
But
series of stuff, and
but you know what? You can sit and watch TikTok for 2 hours. Don't even know that time's gone. So
oh, Adam.
it's not even about quality. It's about quantity. What people want, and that's because you watch so much. Because I'll watch TikTok before I go to bed sometimes, and I'm looking at the clock and oh shit, I should have been asleep an hour ago.
So, Adam, you bring up one of my biggest pet peeves with some of the people that I know in my life. And I will
Okay.
not name them, but you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I tell them, you should watch this movie. It's like, oh, I don't really have time to watch this movie. I'm just going to watch The Office. Three and a half
Um,
hours later, you watched how
yeah.
many damn episodes of The Office, and you could have
Mm,
watched two movies. And
yeah. Yeah.
that's just like it's exactly what you're talking about. Why watch a 2 hour film when I could just watch 2 hours of like
4 episodes. But yeah.
100 TikTok videos?
Yeah. I've actually gone the opposite direction to be honest. Like I have a lot of people recommend TV series to me and you should watch this, do you watch this, do you watch that and blah, blah. I've actually kind of stopped watching series as in long form series, episodes that are 40 odd minutes long because if I watch two of those, I'm like, I can always watch the movie there. And because I have so many movies on my watch list
Yeah.
that I want to watch and need to watch, I've just stopped watching TV. I'll watch sitcoms before I go to bed, but um, I do not watch an actual series. Like there's lots that I want to watch. Marvelous Mrs. I'd love to watch Mad Men again, but I can't watch 7 seasons. That's a huge commitment now. Like it's 20 hours, and like 20 hours is at least 10, 13 movies that I could tick off my list. You know,
Yeah.
so yeah,
And that's such an interesting thing. And like that, it's so crazy. Like, look at this conversation we just opened up from what else
the
is on?
Truman Show.
What
Yeah,
else is
yeah,
on?
yeah,
And that's how impactful that last line of this movie is, because
yeah,
that just encapsulates society and our culture so well,
yeah.
and how disconnected we are, because
And that was 24 years ago too, right?
it's
And nothing's
crazy.
changed. Yeah,
Social media didn't exist. The internet was not what it was. Like,
reality TV didn't exist.
no, like
Yeah,
complaining.
not
We're
like it
going to blame
does.
the Truman Show because apparently this gave people ideas. But like that's the thing. I, you know, my wife has like cameras that like to watch the cats when like we're away for a
Oh
while
yeah,
or something like that, and just like I can just sit there and watch my cat live my its cat life all day, and people do that.
yeah,
And
yeah,
like I have plenty of friends who are like constantly hopping onto their cameras to check in on their animals.
yeah.
That's the secret life
Oh,
of pets. People just watch that. They don't need you illumination and
sleeping on the couch.
your mediocre animated movies about pets. But like it's the kind of thing where it's just like this film is so prophetic. And there are
Yeah.
definitely artists like Christoph out there, that there's directors, there's writers that, because he truly believed he was changing everything, which he was.
Mm,
And that's
yeah.
the hardest thing because, and Christoph knew it. He
Yep.
knew he changed the world. And that's why he was like,
Not
he,
for the better though. Either.
it's
It's
why,
not for the better.
no, what's the point of changing the world if you didn't make it better? You
And
just,
that's the God complex. They just want to have that legacy. I changed the world, better or worse. It's like same as the scientists in Jurassic Park. They didn't stop to think if they should.
your scientists, they thought about if they could, but they didn't think about if they should.
Yeah, yeah.
Ian
That's that
Malcolm
God
should just
complex.
stroll up. You know what? I want to have an interview between Ian Malcolm and Christoph, and I want to see how
Yeah,
that goes.
wouldn't that be amazing?
Be
What a great
amazing.
crossover.
Jeff Goldblum just shows up in in this movie, but
On the table.
yeah, exactly. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, Christoph.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask. It's and
You
just
crazy bastard, you did it.
yep, because he really did. This is such an elaborate thing, and like they show from like the dome outside and like how
Mm.
big it is. One of the funniest parts in the movie, though, is them showing people who've snuck onto the show, and like the guy
Yeah.
hopping out of the Christmas
Yeah.
gift. And
Yeah.
that's the thing. This movie is legitimately funny
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
and also soul crushing. Like this
But
is
do you know what? Sorry, sorry. Something just sprang into my head, and it's kind of
uh,
off topic. What you said, it's not kind of. It is very off topic. But everything that we're talking about, how dense this is. This is a 90-minute film. How they or 95 minutes? They pack
yeah.
so much in. This should be a 4-hour film. What we're talking about, but it is. It is because the first half of it, the first 35 minutes, you kind of sit down and you watch this show and you don't know. If you went in with this not knowing what this film was about, you would have no idea that it's about a reality show until it snaps in the middle and his dad appears or something. And then they pan out and then they show this studio where these people are controlling everything. Like, what a trip that is.
When he goes into that one place and sees like a gorilla position where it's just like people going in and out, and you're just like,
Oh yeah. But it was the
what?
elevator on the yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
the oh, I wish that I could erase my memory of this film and watch
Yeah.
this without knowing anything about it. Because the moment that the dad shows up and the people just grab him, and then all these people, like the band, like the group, like that group of
Mm,
people just walk right in front of him, like, what's going on here?
yeah.
Like, that
Yeah.
would be mind blowing. And
Yeah.
I would be interested to go back and see what the trailers were like for this film because I can guarantee you they
I
like,
think it was spoiled.
yeah,
I think it would have been spoiled. Yeah.
that's a
Because
shame.
otherwise, why would you watch it? Yeah, it
I
is.
that I guess that's the trick because like as somebody who literally watches everything, I don't need to watch trailers because I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes like I'm thinking of like a film like Barbarian that came out
Hmm.
recently. They did not give away anything, and it was amazing for excuse me for it.
All I know about that, it's something to do with an Airbnb. I don't want to. I really want to say because
That's it.
the director Zach Kreger, he's actually from one of my favorite shows of all time called Wrecked. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Mm.
He's like the main star in that. It's a comedy. It's like a spoof on Lost. You should check. It's only 3 seasons on
Oh,
TBS in
was that
America.
on? Yeah, that
It
was on
is.
PBS. I remember when that
It's
came out.
it's only 3 seasons. It ends on this huge cliffhanger because they didn't make the fourth. But I've seen it 3 times. It's such a great show. It's like Reese Darby's in it. It's very very funny. You would love it.
If Reese
You would love
Darby's in it, you got my attention. I'll be
And
watching
he's
the
so good in
show.
this film. You please watch it because he's so good in. Oh, I want to see your Instagram stories with you saying wrecked episode season 1, episode 1. I want to see that happen because I want someone else to talk to the show about. No one. I keep recommending it and no one watches it, and it bugs me because it's fantastic,
Well, just for you, Adam,
fantastic.
I'm adding it to my watch list and putting it up like towards the top of it. So,
I actually watched it
like,
with my son this year, and he loved it. And he's a hard critic because all he watches is anime. So
yeah,
yeah, it's
anime sets a high bar for things.
It does. It does. I say, oh, this is coming, and he won't watch live action retakes on anime. Oh, they because there was a new something movie released, Full Metal Alchemist. He goes, that live action? No, I'm not watching it. Won't
And
touch
most
it.
of it's crap. Um, also,
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
fair, I don't want to see some of the live. I don't want to see some of the stuff from Full Metal Alchemist in live action because it's effed up. So,
Oh, is it right?
oh my
Okay.
god, I've watched the first 12 episodes of that, and I'm just like already like
Oh, should
crazy.
my 15-year-old son be watching this? I don't know.
Um, it's more of like, should somebody have done this? It's more of like
Oh, right.
it's more of like a Jurassic Park kind of thing where it's just like, should humans have been doing these things? Because this is really messed up. Um,
Okay.
but this film, and I love the point that you brought up, like, this is an efficient film. This is
Yes.
this is
Yeah.
not like 2.5 hours sprawling epic. Like this is a beautifully
It's
shot
tight.
film. It's a
Mm,
tight script. It is so dense and is able to layer so many things into it. The music is so unique
mm.
and
It is unique. Yeah. Great word.
creates such an
Yeah.
environment. And like I had like IMDb up and like how bright like just
Mm,
this is, and then you have like this shots in contrast with like Kristoff in like
yeah.
his high up kind of like heaven in the sky kind of thing, and Paul Giamatti, who's one of his tech
Who we haven't mentioned. Yeah.
who pops up in this too. And
Yeah.
this film just has great characters, it has great performances, it has such an efficient and dense script. It's just
Yeah.
directed to perfection. It has so much to say, and there
Yeah.
because like the film plays off. It has twists and turns, it's excitement, it has mystery. It's scary, honestly, in some of the ways that it's doing. Like when they're searching for him when he goes missing, and it's just everybody in a line walking down the streets with like flashlights and everything.
Yeah.
That invoked
Yeah.
like ET, like the government people showing up, and you'd be like,
Yeah.
like that scene in ET, and you're just like, oh my god. And
And if that doesn't alert him to the fact his life's a show, then nothing else will, right? But
yeah,
everyone's so desperate to find him.
and like there's love in it, and Jim Carrey is just so great in this film. And you know, it sounds like he might be retiring soon. Because he even started talking
Sonic
about
3.
that after like just doing like the second Sonic movie. And I'm like,
Mm,
I wish I could have saw more things with him doing more dramatic stuff. Because like he has, like Eternal Sunshine obviously is one of his big other ones. I
yep,
love
yep.
Hitting, that Showtime show.
Oh, yeah, me too. Oh, Kidding is a fantastic show.
Yep, got
He's
canceled after
playing
two
Mr.
seasons.
Rogers, right?
Yep,
Yeah, I know. And it
and
was actually with his new girlfriend, I think, Ginger Gonzaga.
yeah, he was that was too dark for people, I think. I don't think people were prepared for that show. Um
No, no.
and
Frank
I
Langella, so great.
I just
Sorry.
there's just so much to love about this film, and the fact that I
Mm,
could love this as like a 10-year-old watching this probably for the first time
yeah,
and
yeah.
getting so much out of it and like just enjoying this crazy world and this crazy story. But as an adult, being able to look through the layers of what it's really saying about
Hmm.
like fate too, because like he feels so drawn to this woman, and to be honest, he knows nothing about
No,
Natasha
that's
Mechlin's character at all.
that's unrequited love, and that's what wins the day for him.
Mhm. And like him trying to get to Fiji and them going out of
Mm,
town and the flames and the hazmat suit people and just him on the run and just all of this stuff
yeah,
is there's a set of there's just paranoia running
yeah.
wild in this, and Peter Weir is able
But
to capture that so well.
it's not paranoia if they're really after you, though, right? So it's not even paranoia.
Well,
It's fact.
you know what?
He's
That is
switched
a
on.
fair point. But like, it starts out as paranoia for him, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
like who was it? Because I it manifests as paranoia because they're gaslighting him on top of everything because it's
yeah.
like everybody's telling us it's okay, it's fine.
One of one of the best side gags when you're talking about the gaslighting is when he goes into the travel agency and there's a poster of the plane being struck by lightning. It could happen. Like
Yes.
so, it's so amazing. It's like we're telling you we have a travel agency. Why not just not have a travel agency in the whole town? Like why even have it? But when he goes in there and there's that picture of the plane, it's such a great side gag. It's
Yep.
fantastic.
That and then I one of my favorite things is when he gets on the bus and the guy's like,
Yeah,
and then
you
later
can't
in the film,
change
they're like,
gears.
send out the boats. And he's like, but
I'm
I'm
just a
an
bus
actor. I
driver.
don't know how to drive this.
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously, not method actors. They didn't put in the
Well,
research.
obviously not very good forward planning by the production company either, because you would probably, just in case he wants to get on, maybe get
Yeah,
someone who can drive the boat. Yeah. But that's would have
that's Christoph's like imagine like
arrogance.
imagination and perspective
Mm.
that he has complete control over this. And
Mm.
what I love is up until the very end, he does not believe that Truman could leave.
No, no, he believes he won't. Yeah.
And the way that he's just like speaking so softly to him.
Mm. Mm.
And then, and then,
Like if someone was actually hearing God for real, right? Like,
yeah, if I don't see you, good after evening, and good
mm,
afternoon, good evening, and good night.
yep,
And then he does the
yep,
bow, and it's
yeah.
just like the
Oh,
music, just all of it.
how about before that though, when the boat is sailing and you see the sky in the background, all of a sudden it crashes in to the edge of the studio because the perspective, the forced perspective. You think it's a real shock when you first see that, like the
Yeah,
boat crashing through the wall. Like, But that really, even now, it still kind of blows me away how, because you're watching it and you know it's going to happen, but it still shocks you.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
It also made me think the camera work in this is incredible because there's so many different
yeah,
kinds of cameras. They have all of these
there
like
are.
fisheye
Yeah.
lens and stuff like that.
Yes.
I have to give a shout out to Peter Bezo, who was the cinematographer on this.
Okay.
Because like DP of Time Bandits. Interesting. Um
Oh.
I can kind of see that. Like thinking like some of the abstract camera angles and stuff like that, the fisheye lens, like the
Hmm.
fisheye lenses with all of like the voyeuristic shots
Yes.
are
Yeah.
just something else.
From the guys really being out the front, or when the twins pin him up against the newsstand wall and stuff. Yeah, they're fantastic shots.
Absolutely. And like um all the cameras that are watching him specifically. Um
Mm,
like on
mm.
the boat with like you're like close up and like all the rain and everything. Speaking of rain, the one moment he's sitting on the beach
Yeah,
and it's
on the
literally
beach.
just
Yeah,
raining right over
yeah,
him and just like the running back and forth.
yeah. It's so bad.
It's you would think after all of these years they wouldn't make so many mistakes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course, what's Truman's mid-30s at this stage or something? At least, isn't he?
Yep.
Yeah,
I think the most
yeah,
messed up thing is when Kristoff's like, and I still believe we are going to show the first conception ever on.
yeah.
I'm just like,
Gross. Yeah. It's a little bit.
yikes!
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
can you like, can you imagine the pressure? Like you're a woman who probably is in a situation where you can't say no to such a consistent job, but like you're getting married
Mm.
off to somebody to have his kids, and like
Fingers were crossed.
yeah, and like thinking about all these things and like
Yeah, having to do things as
yeah,
an act. Yeah, yeah,
and no wonder she cracked. Like
yeah.
being and that's the thing too because I don't like I haven't honestly took a step back and really thought about from her perspective that much of like yeah, you know, it's like you didn't have to take the job, but like
They'd want to be
this
paid well as well, right? Because they don't have a life outside. They have to live. And she's
yeah,
married to this guy, so she's probably expected to live her entire life until death, right?
yeah,
In this studio as well. Like, so what's the point of her doing that? Like, is she getting, unless they have a get out clause, you get divorced at 40 or something, and you can retire with all this money? But this is why a few interviews ago when we talked about, one of your questions was what film would you like to see a sequel to? Not that I want to see a sequel, but the Truman Show would be a phenomenal franchise. I think you could make several films, or you could make. I actually had an idea. Shush, everybody, don't steal this because it's on YouTube now. But you could make a sequel, two sequels to this movie, but both directly relating straight after the film, not linear, but two sequels from two different aspects of what could happen to Truman after he's left the stage.
yeah.
So it'd be same universe, but two very different sequels side by side. As in, one would be, does he become a recluse and find his love of his life, or does he go on to the talk show round and seek more fame? Blah blah blah.
That would be
Uh,
Jim Carrey needs to like before he retires
yeah,
return to Truman and see what Truman is like 25 years later. Like
yeah,
what happened to this man
yeah,
after all of this? And hopefully he's still alive and living after like
yeah.
I think so do you know have you ever seen like a video or a top 10 list of like seemingly happy endings with tragic consequences? I'm just saying
I
that
haven't. No.
I've
This,
seen some people make lists like that. I'm just thinking about the Truman Show. It's like it's such an uplifting ending
yeah,
of him escaping, but
yeah.
what life does he have?
That's what I mean. Like one of the sequels could be him turning into an alcoholic. Like he finally finds the love of his life, but he becomes an alcoholic recluse because he's lived his entire life under being watched. He goes completely reverse, locks himself in a dark room, blah blah blah, has relationship troubles because of that, or he goes the bright and bubbly way and seeks further fame, and and then becomes a bit of a fame whore, or
Yeah.
yeah, that's yeah. Yeah,
Well,
it could be tragic either way. I think either way, it's tragic. Like this is a tragic story,
yeah.
and it's going to be a tragic life, regardless of what happens on the outside. I think.
But I think the most important message is it's his life.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be his life.
100%.
And I guess that's where the hope really sinks in. And
Yeah.
because, like, as somebody, I strongly value, like, the individual and people being able to live their lives how they want to live their lives
Mm-hmm.
without
Mm-hmm.
people telling them what to do. This is my nightmare.
Yeah.
Finding out that I had no choice at all.
Yeah.
And like my
Yeah.
whole entire life, it's like right now, all of my friends that I hop on Zoom with are actually actors. I'm just sitting here living in this life.
Yeah. Well, if you believe the conspiracy theories, Australia isn't a real country. We're all actors as well. I
Yeah.
don't know if,
I
don't know if
had
you've
a
heard
bunch
that
of friends
one.
who are like, Nebraska doesn't exist. Just like the middle of nowhere. Uh,
But it's corn.
that's all it is. Just nothing but
It's
corn.
corn. Yeah.
But this is terrifying. This is like a terrifying thing to be
Yeah,
like,
it is.
you have no choice and you've been a prisoner your whole life and you don't even know it.
Yep.
And
Yep.
which you could take this and run with this, and people can criticize religion in this way, where it's just like
Yeah.
you've been living your whole entire life in the structure of like you have no, you don't have free
No
will.
free
You're
will.
like
Yeah.
destined to this, and you have no choice. And breaking free from that, or
that that
like toxic relationships, and because like
yeah.
this is the most toxic relationship you can come up with between like Truman
Yeah.
and Kristoff, which he doesn't even
No
know
one is
about.
real. Like his friends, even if none of his friends were real. Like he had to go through school. Like all these school kids are actors as well. Like, but do these school kids have real school outside? Do they leave the studio overnight and come back every day to work? Like, I mean, that's it's a strange concept. But I mean, but as you were saying about free will, like it's another perspective of that God controlling us type of thing, right? Like he seemingly has free will, but he's being manipulated in down certain paths, right? Like as a God would supposedly do. But what does that say when he breaks free? Like, is that him now not believing in God or believing he is his own person? It's mega deep. It's just so mega. It'll be. This has to be top of the pops. If I was a film studies professor, this would have to be in the top 5 films
You
that you
have
have
to
to show.
show it. Like,
Yeah,
and you could do a whole entire semester of just analyzing
yeah,
this film from different perspectives. And
yeah,
does Truman leave here and try to find religion because he needs
yeah,
something to
yeah,
dictate? Like,
yeah.
is he at that point where it's like, I can't live my life because I don't know how to live this? I need something to
That's
guide
right.
me. And
Does he stop giving a shit about life? Does he get into drugs and alcohol? Does he gamble everything away? Does he, I don't know, get into crime, things like that, because there's no consequences, or he
he
doesn't know
finds
consequence?
he finds her and realizes that they're not a good match, that they didn't
Yeah,
know each other.
that's
And
right. That's right.
and not only did he, because like in the context of her as this character in this film, in this fake reality, they didn't even interact that much. He fell in
No,
love
no.
with somebody who he barely interacted with, which that somebody he barely interacted with is a character
In
that
high
somebody
school,
else is playing.
yeah. That's right. I guess maybe that the love come from the fact that she was the only one that was maybe real to him as well.
Yeah.
Like he must have subconsciously felt that everyone else is playing a part. Subconsciously, you could tell that no one seems genuine, but she was.
Well, that connection, like across the way outside, and then Laura Linney, like, whoa, and like falling
Yeah,
on
yeah,
him,
yeah,
and in the
yeah,
most like fake, forced kind
yeah,
of way.
yeah.
And it's like, oh, hi. And it's just like,
That's well, that's that free will again, right? Like he doesn't want her. He's not interested. Even then, he shows he's not interested,
yeah,
but he's manipulated into marrying her because of it's such a oh man, this film is just so amazing. There's just so much you can talk about.
talk for days.
Yeah,
Just
I'm just
that
looking at my
there's just
notes
so
here
much to
too.
unpack here. And this is why, if you have never watched the Truman Show, you need to watch this film. Like,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is like over the years, this has been slowly moving up my list as one of my favorite films because like
Hmm.
there's just so much to unpack and just everything works about it. All the technical aspects, the production design, the music, the
Hmm.
the acting, the writing, the direction, just everything works. And
How
it
does the writer? How does the writer of well, Andrew Nichols got a bit of a hit and miss?
yeah.
But this is he was nominated for an Oscar for this, but he wrote, and I like this movie because I've seen it a few times. But he wrote In Time. Like In Time is kind of trash, right? But I like In Time because it's kind of fun. But
In Time has
I don't
a
know.
you know what? In Time has a lot of great ideas in it.
Yes,
The
good concept.
overall
Yeah.
screenplay, I think, is a miss. Like he wrote The Host too, and not like the Korean Host, which is like a whole other kind of thing. That like YA novel adaptation, The Host.
Yeah.
Lord of War. He has a story
Lord of
credit on
War
The
is good.
Terminal,
Yes. Yeah.
and this is
Do you
so
know?
fascinating that his first two projects he wrote were Gattaca and The Truman Show.
Hmm. Yeah. I only watched Gattaca recently too, and that's not too bad. It
Yeah,
wasn't too bad. Have you seen Simone in, with Al Pacino?
I haven't seen that.
You should check that out. That's actually another reality TV type show thing. It's actually really good. You'd be surprised how good that is.
Oh, he
It's
directed that
basically she's
too.
a did he? Okay.
Andrew Nichol
Right.
directed that, and
Right.
yeah, Andrew
His
Nichol's in
next
the movie.
project looks interesting. His next project is interesting. It's a Monopoly based on the board game with Kevin Hart. Have, have you? I'm looking at his writer credits now in IMDb. In
That is
2027, it's coming out, so it's still 5 years away. This film. The movie centers on a boy from the game's modest Baltic Avenue on a quest to make a fortune, with Kevin
oh,
Hart, the star.
directed by Tim Story.
Same story, yeah. Fantastic Four, nice,
Yep.
yeah, nice.
You know
Oh
what?
man, that just sounds bad all over. Just sounds
Well,
bad.
that's the thing. I if the Lego movie didn't exist, I would automatically say that is straight
Yeah,
trash.
yeah.
But like if he could
But
channel what he had in like the Truman Show into channeling the potential out of that, because here's the thing, there was so much potential in Time. It
oh,
was a
absolutely.
fascinating idea.
Yeah,
But you know what they
it is.
shouldn't have done? Casted Justin Timberlake and Amanda Seyfried as your two leads. And Amanda Seyfried,
Oh, I
I
don't
feel
know
like,
about
has come a long
Seyfried.
way from
Yeah,
then, but definitely don't cast Justin Timberlake as the leading.
yeah. I like Seyfried. I like her a lot.
I,
But yeah,
you know what?
Timberlake.
I thought she was hilarious in Mean Girls, and then like the next thing I saw her in was like Les Mis, and if I had to hear her
Okay.
streaking, um,
Did you not sing? She's in Mamma Mia too, right? I've
oh
not seen
yeah,
either of those.
see, I couldn't think about her singing in that because I couldn't get Pierce Brosnan singing out of my head.
Uh, But
which is
she's also one of my all time favorite guilty pleasure movie, which everyone hates, but I love, and I've seen it 10 times. A Million Ways to Die in the West.
I've never
It's,
actually watched that.
oh,
I've only seen
it's
clips from it, but I do remember her be so I have to give her a lot of credit for being in Ted 2 and taking a joke from Seth MacFarlane saying that she looks like
Better
Gollum.
Eyes. Yeah, Better Eyes.
Like
Yeah,
I'm just like, wow, good for her for like
yeah,
playing along with that because that was a low
yeah.
blow. That was a dick move. But
He does it to her in A Million Ways to Die in the West too. He talks about her big eyes, and they're not that big. Um, you need to see that. It's like a modern. To me, it's like a modern day Blazing Saddles, and I would watch A Million Ways to Die in the West 5 times to watching Ted once. Honestly, like it's just it's very funny. It's very funny. I like it.
but
Yeah,
does it
people
have
hate it.
Mark Wahlberg in it? No, it
No,
doesn't need Mark
thankfully.
Wahlberg.
It does have Ralph Garman though. Ralph Garman played Mark Wahlberg's dad. I don't know if no one watching this would know who Ralph Garman is, but he does a podcast with Kevin Smith, and he's awesome. He's a very funny guy. He's in Yoga Hoses. He does all the impressions in Yoga Hoses. You remember him
Oh,
from
him.
that?
Yeah. I know who you're
Yes.
talking about.
Yeah.
Sorry, not sorry. About
Sorry.
not
And
wanting to
yeah, he
talk
does the
about
action
yoga
as well.
hosers.
Yeah.
um, but Adam, this was obvious. Like that's the beauty of this film too, is that there's so much you could take away from this film to talk about.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
obviously, we talked a lot about how prophetic this film is, how much depth there is to thinking about what happens after the credits roll in this, because there's so
Yeah.
many possibilities. And yeah, I think the next time somebody asks me what film should get a sequel, I'm gonna say The Truman Show because
Yep.
I want to know what happened to Truman.
Yeah. I think I could write a book about what happened to Trent, or my own screenplay if I ever put my thumb out my ass to sit down and do some writing. I'd love to do that. I could love to approach that. Yeah, I think
I
I've got some
imagine
great ideas
the
I'm looking over.
many endings of Truman.
Yeah,
And each
yeah.
chapter is like a different take on what could have happened to Truman.
What could you call the sequel? The Truman web series? The Truman, I don't know,
I think it would just
the
be
Truman
Truman.
talk show? Maybe he comes out and hosts a talk show. Late night with
See, if
Truman
he did
Burbank.
go through so here's the thing: if he did go through like the fame horror stuff, he 100% would have a talk show eventually.
Yeah,
100%.
absolutely.
He'd be up there with Kelly Ripa. It would be Truman and Kelly.
Or he could go the Lilu route from Fifth Element and just watch the internet to see what the world actually is as well. And like he doesn't know what the real world's like. Like he doesn't know anything. Like
No,
imagine him discovering everything like a child.
you're just like walking around like lollipop, 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 like 50s music, and then all of a sudden you walk into the 90s and there's like Tupac and Biggie on, and you're just like,
Yeah, yeah.
just like
He sees the
what?
birth of Eminem. Yeah,
Yeah, honestly, like what? When did Eminem really shoot up? Was like very late 90s. He walks
early
out like
thousands.
NSYNC and Backstreet Boys are all like
Yeah,
on
yeah.
MTV, and he's just like, what
Yeah.
is this?
He'd be like, "I'm gonna go back in." Oh
Oh man.
god.
So yeah, so Adam's homework is he's going to write the many endings of
Uh,
Truman, and that's going to be his book. Every chapter is a new ending that Truman could have had. But if they do make it, if they ever made a sequel, I want them to just call it Truman,
mm,
and because that's all it has to be, because that's what it is. It's about Truman and what happened to Truman.
yeah, and it's not because Capote's already there, so you can call it Truman because they called it Capote.
Oh man. But Adam, this was quite the interesting conversation. I'm so glad that you
Was.
suggested coming on and talking about the Truman Show.
I'll have to come up with another one.
Absolutely. I'm always down to talk movies. It's what I do.
Same.
I watch movies and I talk about them.
Yeah. That's a good life, though. That's a good life. You can't
Yeah,
complain.
along with teaching and tutoring,
Hmm.
all the other crap that I
Yeah,
do.
real life. Don't worry about the real life stuff. Yeah, not about that.
Yeah, this is my Truman Show. Just in movies.
Yeah. Yeah. Create your own.
Except that we have to go to work. Truman goes
Yeah,
to
we've
his
got to
fake
we've got to
job.
pay we've got to pay these internet bills to watch all this stuff, don't we?
Yep. Yeah, we got to pay. We had to go to our real jobs to get enough money to pay for all the streaming services and the physical media, so
Yeah,
that we can watch movies.
that's right.
That's the life. But you all should check out Adam over on Curb Rider, his letterbox account, because he always has some great content, and I love checking out his reviews. I really do. Anytime you pop up, I do usually read what you write.
Yeah,
You're
cool.
part of the handful of people that I usually do.
That's
Um,
good to know.
there you go. Shameless plugs all around. But thank all of you for always tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.